In today's video, we're going to be looking at super again. I've been getting a number of different questions on a lot of my videos where I talk about super. So that's what we're going to be looking at today, is how we can compare our super funds within other super funds to see, is your super fund comparable to some other options? What are the returns you're getting? What are the fees you're getting charged? There's a number of different websites out there on the internet that let you compare different super funds, and to be honest, most of them are pretty shit. I went through a lot of them over the last couple of days just trying to get a real good gauge on comparing different supers and things. Just finding that you could compare them all, but just trying to get them in an order that you want to get them in was very difficult. So that's one downside. I don't know if they do this on purpose just so that they can pump up the ads for the particular funds that pay them enough for advertising. I'm not too sure if that's how it works, but I have a fair idea. Maybe that's what they're sort of aiming at. I also couldn't find the Hostplus Indexed Balanced Fund option, which Scott Pape recommends, which I've made a few videos in the past, so make sure you check those out if you're a bit unfamiliar with Hostplus Indexed Balanced Fund, as they are the lowest fee provider that I can find in Australia. There are some that come close, but that's the lowest I can find. They don't have the best performance, but they are the lowest fees, and that's the only thing that we can really control is the fees that we pay. No one really knows of how the funds, one year they might have an up year, next year they're down. You want to look at the long term as well. How good are these funds returning over 10 years, not just 1 year. They might have a good year, next year they might have a shit year. So definitely look at different funds. That's one thing, like I can't stress enough, the only thing you can really control is the amount that you pay in fees. So that's why both Scott Pape and myself, I would always sort of lean to those low fee providers. Set and forget, put it there for 45 years. Hopefully at the end of the time there, you've got a good little nest egg to retire on. That's the goal we're all sort of aiming for. So definitely something you want to spend a bit of time thinking about as well. There's no one size fits all when it comes to super, unfortunately, and especially here for YouTube. It's a very one-sided conversation. I don't know your financial situation, so it's very hard to try and sort of give personalised advice, and I always recommend, speaking to a financial advisor in this regard, especially if you've been unsure around your super. It's something you really need to put some stock into, and it's not something you just want to listen to some random bloke on YouTube. But definitely you can read Scott Pape's books. He definitely gives you a good sort of basic insight to work from, and then do some more research of your own. Get on these websites, get on these comparison websites to see what the best option out there is for you. Things you definitely want to consider is the fees that you're getting charged, also the performance of the fund, and your strategy. How much more time, if you are 18 years of age, then you've got another good 40, 45 years of working, so you can afford to be in more of a growth fund, let's say. Whereas if you're getting more to the 55, 60, 65 years of age, you probably want to look to more of a conservative, balanced sort of a fund with it. You're coming up to retirement, you don't want a big correction in the market and all of a sudden you're losing half your super. So definitely things you want to sort of consider. And that's why there's no sort of one size fits all. Someone may have 20 grand, someone may have 400 grand. It's all different depends on sort of what your working situation's been over your working life as well. So definitely a few different considerations you want to think about there. Also the insurance component as well. Are you looking to get some form of insurance with your super as well? Have a look at how much they charge for that as well. Like I said, I have made another video where I discussed around Hostplus's insurance that they charge. Also the Choice Plus option as well. So make sure you check that out if you wanted to know a bit more about that. But in today we're just going to be looking at how to compare different super funds and also look at the performance of Hostplus over this last year as well. Alright guys, with that said, let's jump into today's video. So I'm over on hostplus.com.au. We're going to be looking at a couple of different things here on the website, looking at some comparison options so you can compare your current super with Hostplus. We're going to have a look over just quickly why having the lowest fees possible is one of the best ways forward and one of the only things you can really control when it comes to your super. And in the end, we're going to have a look at the investment returns of some of the Hostplus funds that they have on offer, as I've had a few questions on that on the previous videos about what's Hostplus been returning. So we're going to look at that as well. And then, like I said, we're going to have a look at different comparison tools. The best that I've found out there for comparing what current super you're with to Hostplus or whatever other supers that you may be interested in looking at. So let's just have a quick look at the highlights here for the Hostplus Indexed Balanced Fund option. So Hostplus Indexed Balanced option, low cost equals clear value equals great returns. Nice little line there. So here we have Hostplus Indexed Balanced option is one of Australia's lowest cost diversified investment options. Look, I've talked about this numerous times on the channel before. So they're saying here, let's say hypothetically you have $50,000 in your super. The total investment fees that you will be paying for that would be 0.06%. This is a passive management style, so it just tracks the entire index, and that being the ASX. So here, just like they're saying, very low fees. You're still paying that $1.50 a week, giving you that total $78 a year in fees, and then the 0.06%. And that is the total fees as well. That's including any indirect costs. It is free once you're in with Hostplus to transfer between different funds. I do believe, I'm not currently with Hostplus because we have a self-managed super fund set up, but I have briefly looked over it, and that was what my understanding was, that is free to jump between different funds if you wish to do that. A transparent portfolio made up entirely of index funds, which are effectively designed to track the underlying markets they are invested in. So this means there is no active manager that is buying and selling and making decisions. So if the market was to do incredibly well and just keep going up like it has been doing this last year, then you'll be riding with that. But also the opposite of that, if the market does take a big correction, so will your super as well. But the best thing to do there is not panic. You're invested for the long term, just ride it out. If you would look back in a couple of years' time, it'll just be a little blip on the radar, hopefully. And also no unlisted assets here. So when they say no unlisted assets, that's like toll roads and these sort of assets as well. It's only things that can be traded through an exchange, being a stock market as well. So that's another thing just to bear in mind as well. And over the 10-year return here, they've 8.15%. This is the grossed up return that they've had for the Hostplus Indexed Balanced Fund option. And they've got 93,000 members there with this particular fund. Guys, before we move on to the different comparison tools, both here on Hostplus and also over on the ATO, just I want to drive home why low fees matter here. This is just a little snapshot here. There's not a lot you can control when it comes to investing in your super in the share market. So you should focus on two things which you can control. And that is the percentage of your super you have in the share market and also the fees that you pay each year. So this is so crucial. This is something that Scott Pape harps on about, as do I. It is such a crucial thing that you do actually have some control over. Whether the market goes up, down, sideways, there's no control you have over that. So definitely the key is low investment and admin fees can make a big difference to your super balance and your retirement. So it means you get to keep more of your money invested for the future. Just a little plug there for Hostplus. With that said, let's jump over and have a quick look at a couple of different comparison tools. So Hostplus actually has a good comparison tool here on their website. There are a number of different comparison tools available to you on the internet, but I'd be a little bit wary. I looked at a few of the different options, and a lot of them I think are getting paid by the super funds to sort of prop their super funds at the top of the list. The super is a multi-billion-dollar industry, so you've got to be very wary. It may not be the best option, but it might be sort of popping up there at the top of the list, like, oh, you know, low fees or whatever, great returns. So be very wary of the other sort of providers. These two that we're looking at today were the best that I could find, the most unbiased. Okay, obviously the Hostplus one is probably a little bit more biased to Hostplus, but the next one we're going to be looking at, which is my favorite, was through the ATO. But there is a good option here on here where you can run a comparison to, I think it was 4 different supers you can sort of compare to one another. And if you were to not do this through the Hostplus, I think it would, yeah, there it is, it would cost you $55. So it's free to do it through the Hostplus. Give you a 5-point check that they sort of look at. And then they get a PDF document that pops up, sort of compares the lot. But we're going to be looking at the next one here, which is the best, in my opinion, for wanting to compare different supers. Maybe the super you're with, if you want to compare it to Hostplus. The one thing I did find is you can't sort of compare it to the Hostplus Indexed Balanced funds, which is a bit annoying. You can just compare it to another Hostplus Balance fund, but not the actual Hostplus Indexed Balanced fund. So definitely a little bit annoying, but that's just the way it is. So anyway, here we are. I'm going to leave a link to this in the description below. I'm just going to quickly run through how this works. So YourSuper comparison tool, we'll click on that. Then we're just going to go through and just highlight a couple of different supers and just compare them, just so you guys have a bit of an idea how it works. Super easy to do. You know, you can spend 5 minutes. If you've got a handful of supers that you're looking at potentially, great way to compare them alongside. You get a good snapshot of the different supers available. Internet's running a bit slow here. Hopefully this loads up here any minute. So here we have your super comparison. You can log in through your MyGov here. I'm not going to be logging in through MyGov today. And then they've got 80 super products here found. And this is the same thing with the $50,000 balance here. So you can just scroll down. I'm just going to click these top 4 here. You can have up to 4 different options. So you've got a little snapshot here, the annual fee, the 6-year net return on all these particular funds. So we're happy with that. Then we'll compare those 4 there. Scroll down and now you have just a snapshot here. Look, it doesn't go into great detail, but if you're wanting to learn more about that, then you would click on this product details, which will take you to another page, which will give you a lot more information on that particular fund. But it's just a nice little snapshot over the past returns of these particular funds here that you may be looking at. All right, lastly, let's go over to the investment returns for Hostplus. Had a few questions around this. What have they been returning? So we're going to be looking at the Index Balance Fund option, also going to look at a couple of different funds that they also offer. This is through the Investments tab. You can click through this. I'll leave a link in the description as well so you guys can sneak in and have a quick look. But you just scroll down here. It's pretty straightforward. If you want to see the monthly net investment returns for your superannuation, scroll down here, and here they have it all. Nice and easy. You can download this in a CSV format if you'd wish. They have the 1 month, 3 month, 6 month, and right out to the 10 years, and then since inception of that particular fund. So this is the option we're looking at here, is the Indexed Balanced Fund option. So we can see over the last month, they've had 2.13, and just so forth moving forward. 3 months, 5.64%, 6 months, 8.98%, year to date, 18.88%. So this is a great year. You don't expect these sort of returns every year, but the market has been in a great bull run this last sort of year since the correction we saw last year. So over the last year, they've managed to come in at 18.88%. 3 years, 8.92%. This is something you could probably be a lot more realistic to something you can sort of average out over the long term here. Around that sort of 8-9%, let's say. 5 years, 9.33%. 7 years, 8.49%. And the 10 years, 9.2%. And since inception, that is 8.87% for the Indexed Balanced Fund option. This is the lowest fee option. And then if we just want to scroll down here, have a look at some of these other options here. We have the international shares options as well, which I've mentioned a couple of times on the channel. Pretty good returns we can see there. They haven't been around for as long, but since inception, you can see they're coming in at 13.83%, 12.2% there, which is all investing internationally. Think of the big companies that you know about, Facebook, Amazon, Google, Tesla, all these sort of companies. That's what they're invested in across the globe, not just America as well. They're looking in China and everywhere else as well. There is another page which I've made another video on where you can look at the exact investments there. Anyway, guys, we're going to wrap that one up there. Hope you got some value from that. If you did, make sure you hit that like button. It helps me out a ton. There going over how to compare different funds. Like I said, I definitely recommend you spend a bit of time with this. And if this is a bit above your pay grade, then definitely speak to a financial advisor, or even ring up some of these super providers as well. Ring up the one that you're currently with. Ask them these questions. You know, how much are the fees you're charging per annum? All up. They'll try and sort of disguise it and camouflage it a bit. And there's this fee and that fee and other things. Ask, I don't care, what is the total balance? What is the total amount you're skinning me for fees? Also ask for the performance fee. Every year, super funds have to provide a PDS document. Sometimes they bury it on their website a little bit, so you've got to sort of dig deep with that a little bit. Even Hostplus as well, it's a little tricky to find the documents there as well. I'm not saying they're doing it great. It's not printed on their front page or anything like that. So definitely sort of look into that as well. You'll definitely thank yourself, you know, when it's coming up to retirement age. You'll think, man, I'm glad I spent that lazy Sunday just getting onto my super, consolidating all my supers if I have a number of supers, getting them all into one. And then you know where you're at. That way, if you're chopping and changing jobs, you can go to your new employer. Here's the super I'm with. You know, thanks for coming. And it depends whatever super arrangement they may have, whether they're giving you more than the minimum or whatever it may be. So definitely get all that squared away as well. I have done another video on self-managed super funds. If you want to check that out, where I do sort of discuss the pros and cons around self-managed super funds, and also Hostplus's Choice Plus, which is also a great option, especially if you're wanting a bit more of a hands-on option rather than the passive sort of stand back. And just let the index do its thing and just sort of follow the returns of the index that you're investing with, whether that's Australian or you're going the more international route. So that's it for today's video, guys. If you got some value from it, make sure you hit that like button. It helps me out a ton. And if you want to see future videos like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button. That way you can stay up to date when the next video drops. Alright guys, stay safe out there, and we'll catch you in the next video. Cheers, guys.